Well, yeah, the illness started 2.5 years ago. So my first YouTube video was posted 5 years ago. I've been in practice now for 21 years. I've been doing hardcore nutrition for 20 years. Yeah, and so my goal has always been to see how much good we can do with nutrition and with the least amount of supplements, keeping it inexpensive and but very effective, and then of course like what's the best diet. So what you're referring to is I had black mold poisoning in my old office, so I just moved into a new office at the end of June, so July, August, September. So now it's been just over 4 months. Yeah, and that you breathe it in, it goes in your sinuses, lungs, heart. That's where it landed for me. And I didn't know it was black mold. I had symptoms for a year that got for the first 4 months they got worse and worse very quickly. And it was beginning of February of 2016 when I thought I was gonna die. Heart was pounding, high blood pressure. Yeah, well, the very first symptom was October of 2015. I was sitting in my living room in the lazy boy chair, and my heart just started going like this, for about 10 seconds. And I don't know, I thought there was something to the left of the room, like there was a gremlin or I don't know. And I was like, that's weird. I have to remember that. Yeah, so then it happened one more time in October, and then by Christmas, like every night, my heart was pounding. And then it was end of January, beginning of February. As a matter of fact, it was February 3rd, 2016 was the worst night of my life. I didn't think I'd survive that. Initially, it was at night, but then within a few weeks, it was happening during the day. And then my blood pressure was going up. It was always worse at night. There's a commonality amongst all these symptoms. And I had other problems too. My feet were swelling up. My body temperature was dropping like 2 degrees below my normal, and like lack of appetite. I mean, I had a whole huge list of symptoms. Now you can, so basically what I discovered was dirty blood, and I don't know how much you read about this, but I went through some old books, old medical nutrition articles from. In some of my original videos, I was complaining about the corporate interests that were muddying the information, but I really think it's not a corporate fault. It's more the government, to be honest, because they set up this system where there's a ton of money and it's going to go to researchers. So now the researchers are scrambling for the next newest thing, regardless of what was discovered in the past, and they go off on all these trails and they sort of miss like what is real, what is true. And there's very simple things that matter. Like for example, cells reproduce through mitosis. Like that's what you study in like eighth grade or sixth grade science. But there's also the death of a cell, and that's lactic acidosis. So just like there's mitosis, like everybody should learn in grade school, they should also know about lactic acidosis. But so the bottom line is, there were some really great original researchers in the Dr. Otto Warburg and the husband and wife team, Doctors Corey, and they followed a path that described how cells die, and that information was lost past 1960, and then you can trace the deconstruction of our society after that. The LSD and cocaine, the CIA brought both those in the 60s and 80s, and the destruction of our educational system, and that's done by people who were intending to do that. But now the internet's here, now the internet's here. Now people can learn more on YouTube than they can in their high school or even college, to be honest. So there's a new revolution, which is absolutely fantastic. But so when you experience palpitations, basically what you had was dirty blood. That's lactic acidosis. And back in the 1930s, and really we need to come up with a new name for it, because lactic acidosis was created in the 1930s, and it means too much lactate in the blood, which is a waste product. And then it may or may not be acidic. Okay, that's the definition from the 1930s. So people can have dirty blood with more than just lactate, but other toxins, other unwanted chemical compounds. And then they can also have acidic blood, or the blood could be neutral, normal, neutral. So, actually a little bit alkaline, like 7.35, I think. Whatever. The point is, if your blood is dirty, if your blood is sick, your brain, your heart, every single cell, every single thyroid, endocrine gland, adrenals, liver, etc., they're not going to be healthy. So you got to start with the blood. So when you go to conventional doctors and alternative doctors, most commonly they'll find, oh, you need some thyroid support. They give you a thyroid medication or thyroid supplement, or they give you a liver clamp. Yeah, so when you got stressed out, as you're going through this separation, that's a decrease in B vitamins. Right. Yeah, so when you go originally through ketosis, you get what they call keto flu, which is basically toxicity. And then the other aspect is, if you have emotional stress, whether it's long-term chronic or short-term, acute, sort of harsh, you can lose your B vitamins. Your nervous system soaks up the B vitamins. And then your liver doesn't have the B vitamins it needs to detoxify your blood, to clean your body out. All right, so now a decrease in the B vitamins is key for knowing the mechanism of chronic disease. That's 1/3 of the problem is liver malfunction due to loss of B vitamins. Well, that's a really good question. Yeah, I was pre-med when I was in college, and I had every intention to go to medical school. And then I didn't take the MCAT, which is the initial test to get into medical school. And the reason why I didn't even bother taking it, because I did a survey of 12 doctors and students of medicine at Ohio State, and 0 out of 12 encouraged me to go into medicine. And I'm like, if 12 out of 12 don't even like their profession, then I'm not going to step foot in it. So then I looked at optometry, podiatry, veterinary medicine, and then I spent a couple days or actually an afternoon with a chiropractor in my hometown. And what he's showing me was pretty holistic. So he said you can have a problem in your back and it affects your leg. And I was like, well, that makes sense. Like that's, the whole body. And I grew up working on the family farm, and I could see, you got to kind of think holistically. You got weather, you got soil, you got bugs, you got, right? There's rain, So I was thinking holistically from when I was a little kid. But so I decided to be a chiropractor. And then one time I was on the phone with a guy he was the dad of one of my classmates, and he was a dentist. And I was all excited. I said, I'm going to chiropractic school. I'm going to be a chiropractor. He goes, only a chiropractor? Like that. And, I just dismissed it. And it's going to be great. we hung up the phone. And even then, this is high school, and I'm thinking, there's going to be a link. I'm going to find a link between the natural healthcare world and the medical world. Well, so actually when I decided to go to chiropractic school, that was my second or third year in college. So we're talking 18, 19. I was like 20. Yeah, but I had the holistic viewpoint. I know even when I was 6, I started working on the farm when I was 9. Yeah, but I saw some I'll tell you a conversation when I knew that I think differently. So I was in the office at the farm with my dad, and his brother came in, which is my uncle, and his brother said, I just inspected that field of potatoes, and the potato beetle larvae are this big. And he picked up here's a pencil, and a piece of paper, and he put a dot on the paper, and he showed it to my dad, like the larvae are this big. And my dad pushed himself away from the desk, and he was, angry, and he's throwing his fist, and he said, I just sprayed that field last week. So I'm like 6 or 7 years old. I'm thinking, okay, so they just sprayed it with poisonous chemicals, and it's not working, And I remember that story, even to this day. Like everything that happens in medicine is true in agriculture too. You can fight Mother Nature, or you can work with Mother Nature. You get whatever results you get. So I've just decided to work with Mother Nature in healthcare. So, but getting back to this, with this conversation with the dentist on the phone, he said only a chiropractor, and I thought, well, after we hung up, I thought I'm going to link something in the natural healthcare world with medicine, and they'll have no choice but to incorporate natural health care because it'll be the truth. Like I knew that there was something somewhere, even this is, in the early 90s, but I had to read these old books multiple times. Like I read these old books 10 years ago. They had the super valuable information, actually 12 years ago. But it wasn't until I was the one that was sick with the black mold, I read them again to try to save my life. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is it." Like, like those first few paragraphs, I had to set the book down and run around the house a couple times to clear my head, and then I'd read the paragraph again. I did that 4 times. I read this paragraph like 4 times. Like this is all chronic disease. So as I started reading more, other authors and Dr. Henry Harrower from the 30s, and those guys, it's like all those guys were trying to fix lactic acidosis, but they weren't trying to fix the cause. So they weren't talking about black mold, mercury, lead, cadmium. They talked a little bit about excess sugar because the well, yeah, because metals and metal. No, I'm just talking about causes of chronic disease. So heavy metals are a cause, chemical poisoning is a cause. But that between 1930 and 1960, they weren't really talking about that at all. But they were trying to fix the mechanism of chronic disease, which is lactic acidosis. So now we can put the causes together and the mechanism and have better results. So my results are better, faster than ever before. Thank. All right, cool. I'll take that. So I try to every video that I make, I try to have it like one lesson, and I'm not trying to. There's people that have a YouTube channel about a diet, or there's people that create a whole career about one supplement, which is fine. But I'll talk about a supplement, and then I never talk about it again. Never talk about it again. And there are some supplements that are worthwhile that I bring up several times. And of course, I have a wide range of diets. But as you learn more facts about a certain diet, it's worth sharing. But I'm not going to repeat myself, and I certainly I try to stay out of the drama. YouTube it can be pretty. Social media can be pretty dramatic, But I like facts. I don't like emotion. I don't like crying. I don't like I stick with the facts. You know what I mean? So, uh, well, I mean, Dr. Roy Lee talks about this from the 50s and early, even in the 30s. It's a complex. If somebody has a vitamin C deficiency, it doesn't always match ascorbic acid. You have 100 people, each of their vitamin deficiencies is different than the person next to them. So you give a complex of nutrients, and they discovered back a long time ago, before World War II, all medical research was basically nutrition research, feeding studies. It wasn't until around World War II and then after they went hardcore into big, pharmaceutical research. But so they discovered that. Let's see, rutin would be good to add in a vitamin C supplement, and buckwheat leaf and seed are the best anti-scorbutic plant sources of vitamin C. They do the best job to stop scurvy. So, but let me just add this because I haven't really said this in a video yet, but the carnivore diet, when somebody's not eating any plants or carbohydrates, bread, sugar, they're not depleting themselves of vitamin C. So there's research on rats going, in the 50s where a rat is born with plenty of vitamin E in their body from their mom, and they're fed a vitamin E deficient diet, but they don't lose their vitamin E because the diet is not full of sugar and garbage, and they're not toxic. They're able to maintain their vitamin E status their whole lifetime without consuming extra. So, but the point is, like our ancestors a long time ago, and they probably were for most parts of the world, were eating mostly meat. They didn't have scurvy because they weren't eating bread and other high carb foods, and if they were eating high carb foods, it was fruit, which has plenty of vitamin C in it anyways. But anyways, the meat eaters were not getting vitamin C deficient because all the carbs deplete the C. Go ahead. Right. So sugar and vitamin C enter the cell through the same channel, and sugar always wins. So bread having lots of sugar and no vitamin C, it'll block the vitamin C from getting in, and then just the process of digesting um, high carb foods creates mineral and vitamin deficiency galore. So there's two links there. Yeah, the biomechanical process of utilizing sugar, digesting sugar. But this brings up another point though, because I get people commenting these great comments on my channel, and there's a woman that commented she uses Chronometer on the phone. It's an app where you put your food in there, it'll give you the grams of macronutrients and all the vitamins and all the minerals. And she said when she was a vegan, her Chronometer was green. All the bars were green, all the minerals, all the vitamins. So it looked like she was getting all the nutrients that she needed. But she said she was dying inside. Okay, so then she went more carnivore. She's eating less plants, and now her Chronometer isn't green like all those bars are more yellow. But now she's not dying inside anymore. She feels stronger. She's doing a lot better. She's healing. Well, the Chronometer is saying that because it's based on the USDA nutrient guidelines that were based on high carbohydrate, American eating. So there's that. The first candy bar in the United States was 1847. And then past that, you have Coca-Cola, Pepsi, ginger ale, Tootsie Rolls, 1880s, 1890s. But if you go back earlier than that, the whole slave trade was all, rum and sugar, and then later cotton. So I was in on a vacation around Aruba, not Aruba, St. John Island, some of those islands. This is a couple years ago, and we're walking down this island. And there's these enormous, beautiful stone buildings that were super old and stone walls, and I'm like, wow, it was such an effort to put this together. Who did it? Well, it was the slaves that did it, and they're in this tropical area in order to grow sugarcane and sell sugar. So now, if you go back earlier than that, why would we love sugar so much? Here's why. So if you're out in the woods and you got three different color berries, the white berries are going to be more likely poisonous and they're very sour. The blueberries are moderate. Yeah, the blueberries are moderate and they're more likely to be edible. The red berries would be the most edible and the most nutritious, the least likely to be poisonous, the red berries. So just by nature, if you're eating on a berry and it's sweet, chances are it's good for you. If you're eating on a sour berry, then it's bad for you. So that's why we're tuned into preferring sweet. That's right. So, I mean, the food pyramids prior to 1980 were included milk and meat, and people talked about eating their meat and vegetables. And in the South here in the United States, they had a thing called the meat and three. So you have one piece of meat and then three vegetables. And but let's back up a little. Let's back up a little bit. So the 1880s, that's the Industrial Revolution. So the mechanical construction, right? But it also includes the Industrial Revolution in food too. So mass producing food, and then so with those foods there was a marketing budget, and they had more income. There was a greater profit margin with those foods. So then they were able to market and make more money that way. And then they and with the candy they teamed up with pharmaceutical companies because they're little pill shaped, right? They're small, so little candies, little pharmaceutical drugs made by the same machine. Pfizer used to be headquartered in Ann Arbor. I had a friend that her mom worked at Pfizer, and yeah, Pfizer makes candy, and they also make Lipitor because it's the same. They use the same machines. Yeah, and both of those marketing budgets are huge. So, but if you look back at so my dad still farms, and he used to be the president of the Ohio Vegetable and Potato Growers Association back in the '70s. And you don't see commercials from the Ohio VPGA or what Ohio Vegetable and Potato Growers Association. They don't have a marketing budget, Yeah. So I think what that we had to have a dietary regime. What that means is somebody had to say, okay, I'm really important. I'm going to tell other people what to eat. Okay, and so that person says, I am part of the USDA and I'm in charge of the country. So therefore, let's find a way that everybody should eat. We'll put them all in one big group and we'll tell them what to eat. Okay, so give me some advice. So they started getting advice from all these, corporations. That's crony capitalism. I'm not a fan of crony capitalism. You probably aren't either. A fan of pure capitalism, which is, free exchange of goods and services and ideas. Right. Okay. So we could go down that tangent, but let's stick with nutrition. Right. Royal Lee lost his Supreme Court case. Otto Warburg he would do one research study, one experiment in his lab 100 times before he published. And he spoke like he said a statement and man, it landed like a atom bomb. And so everybody was intimidated by him. He was the greatest, probably the greatest medical researcher ever. And he wasn't criticized until after he died. He died in 1970. And then there's these two really stupid papers that came out, but they waited for him to die. And then Henry Harrower, the father of endocrinology, he too was also ostracized, and I mean these three people were really attacked. As Royal Rife, I mean the list goes on. So why would the normal culture abandon this great research? Um, I just think there's evil people, and they don't want others to get healthy, and they may not, know even consciously that they're thinking, okay, I'm going to destroy people's health by stopping this, or it's just I think it's subconscious. Right, it's just unethical. They allow the food corporations to teach the dietitians how to teach the patients what to eat. Now, the Dietary Association of Australia, the DAA, just a few weeks ago said that they will no longer accept that kind of money anymore. So I don't know. It's just the corporate relationship between a regulatory agency and a company that wants to make money. It's crony capitalism. So I don't know what else to say about that. Yeah. I got several things going on with the vision. So with my new office, I have a conference room that seats 24 with the conference tables, where I can seat like 50 people. But so I'll have doctors fly in to Ann Arbor and learn how to incorporate nutrition into their practice and how to run a nutrition practice. But my vision is also shared with. There's a woman named Nina Teicholz. She wrote a book called Big Fat Surprise. Yeah, and she's got what's called the Nutrition Coalition, based out of Washington D.C. And it's really cool. What they're doing is the next round of changes for the USDA food pyramid is in 2020. So every 5 years they make new changes. Now the old changes, it was 1980 when they incorporated the bad research, and I'm not going to get into the whole story about that, but they just didn't use good science, and even though it was present. But now the USDA has determined that they will accept a fresh, new, bright look at the research regarding nutrition. And again, this is all new in the last few weeks, and I keep up with this on Twitter. But yeah, you can find Nina Teicholz at Big Fat Surprise on Twitter, and keep up with that. And sometimes she'll send ask for a donation and stuff, which I've donated to her. But that's the other sort of bigger picture, and she's doing that. I'm helping her whatever way I can. Yeah, so we have to affect people it's from the top down, because the destruction started from the top down with the food pyramid of 1980. And then, so change it that way, and then change it grassroots. So I'm going to be teaching doctors, and I already know I have a lot of doctors that watch my YouTube channel, and I have, students of naturopathy and chiropractic that are watching my channel, and they learn, clinical pearls, if you will, from my channel too. And then, of course, patients. I mean, I get patients that, they type in, hey, I've lost 20 pounds, I feel great. I've never met this person, and they just take what they learn and they run with it. So it's free. You know, like YouTube. My goal. This is the answer to your question. My goal is to bankrupt drug companies. Okay. Now, and beginning, I graduated from chiropractic school in '97, and I'm thinking, how do I do it? Lawsuits, you know, like, do I get into with the federal government? Like, how do I bankrupt drug companies? And after about 6 months, I was like, no, I have to get a lot of sick people well, so I can help individuals, help doctors. Yeah, but with what Nina Teicholz is doing on the federal, you know, agency level, that's really exciting. Yeah, I'm about 80 pages into a book, but I haven't touched it in about 2 years, year and a half. I keep learning all these great new things, and my writer, yeah, my writer lives in Florida, so I would learn some new stuff, make a YouTube video about it, and I'd call her up and say, "Hey, watch this video, add it to the book." We did this about 5 times. I'm like, "Okay, I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna like, you know, we got to make it concise, you know." So yeah, there'll be a book. I don't know when. I don't know when that'll be. The lesson that I originally talked about in one of my first videos, I think from 2013 or 2014, was about the first cause of heart disease is a tear, a little tiny microscopic tear in the arteries. Multiple tears. Vitamin C, it acts like glue to fix that up, and it makes sure that the arteries are pliable, flexible, and strong. A sick artery is stuck and it's stiff. You don't want stiff arteries. So vitamin C can heal that. And then if you're eating sugar, it'll prevent the vitamin C from repairing the arteries. But you know, since then I've learned that you know high insulin is another factor, probably even a bigger factor. Although that's debatable, I haven't really thought too much about that. But certainly, high insulin is the cause of heart. You know, one of the causes of heart disease. So can black mold. You know, heavy metal toxicity, chemical toxicity. But across the country, across the Western countries, if you will, and now India and China, people are just eating lots of refined carbohydrates, and then you add in the bad oils, the vegetable oils, and the high fructose corn syrup. So it's that inflammation caused by the sugar and caused by the bad oils that the main contributors to heart disease. Let's say you sit down for a meal. It's got a beer and a burger with a bun, French fries. So what you're consuming is alcohol, sugar, which is the bun and the fries, and then protein in the burger, and then the fats. So some of the fats will be good, some of the fats will be bad. Like the burger fats will be good, but the French fry fats will be bad. Okay, so your body's now digesting the alcohol first. It's got to start with that and end with that. Then it digests the carbohydrates. When the carbohydrates are gone, then it digests the fats, and then it digests the proteins. So to get rid of the most dangerous things first, the alcohol and the carbs. Okay, so when people have bad cholesterol and their triglycerides are up and all these small particles are up and all these things are happening, it's because they're never digesting the fat. So you got to get the alcohol out, and then you get the carbs out, and now your body deals with the LDL and all the other things that medical doctors give you statins for, and they do. LDL has been well, it's been known as the bad cholesterol, although it's not bad. Yeah, so when you get rid of the alcohol and the carbs, sugar out of your blood, now you're left with fat and protein. So that now when your body starts working with the fat, that's ketosis. So that's why ketosis should be, yeah, everybody should be in ketosis sometimes each year. If you have a human body, you got it, and you may, like when I had black mold in my heart, I got in the first few times I got into ketosis, it really hurt my heart because ketones will feed mold, just like sugar will feed mold. Okay, so right, so I started detoxing, and then like today I was in ketosis and I have no pain whatsoever. It was great, you know. So that's 2.5 years of detoxing black mold. Um, so the point here is that everybody should be in ketosis, and that is the solution for diabetes and heart disease. So knowing that lactic acidosis is the mechanism of chronic disease, if you're reversing diabetes and preventing it, and if you're reversing and preventing heart disease, you're also reversing and preventing cancer. All three of those have the same mechanism. Yeah, so ketosis is when your body's burning fat. So fat cells uh, get smaller. The fat itself gets converted by the body into three different chemicals. Those are three, they're called ketone bodies, three different ketone bodies. And you can measure them with breath or urine or blood tests. And then so with ketones, yeah, with ketones floating around in your body, being used by the cells, the mitochondria to make energy, you get great energy and you get all kinds of other benefits. So your brain works better. Ketones kill cancer cells for most cases. And then you're lowering insulin. You're lowering a thing called IGF-1, which is a growth factor. You're lowering mTOR, which is like insulin for protein. You're helping your hormones. You're helping, so you get all these great benefits. I still truly believe most people should also get out of ketosis. You want to go in and out, in and out. And some people need to be in it forever because of their particular condition, but I think that's pretty rare. But what we're trying to do is mimic what our ancestors used to do. Our ancestors would hunt, and they get a big woolly mammoth. They eat meat and fat. They get into ketosis from that. And then they would have fruit or plants at some other time, and they'd come out of ketosis with that. But I think a mild state of ketosis is the native state of the body. You can get into ketosis by not eating anything, by fasting. And I do want to say that the true carnivore diet, in my opinion, should be high fat. So now you can have like a steak that's, marbled with fat inside, but our ancestors did, and butter on it, right? But our ancestors didn't have that. They had lean meat, so buffalo would be 4%, a rabbit would be 3% meat fat. But then they ate fatty parts. So they ate the brain, they ate the bone marrow, the adrenals, and then the fat that's on the back. So our ancestors would they would specifically go after the fat to eat it. You're being fed the fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. And then red meat has the carnitine, which drives fat into the mitochondria to be used as fuel. Meat is it's a superfood. It's super nutritious. So when you're satisfied, you're not hungry, you're not craving for sugar, and you're just feeding yourself your species specific diet. I think that, and now, as I say this, I think of patients and staff in the past or currently that they can't eat meat. It makes them feel heavy. They feel bad. I mean, that happens. So, it's whatever your body wants. So if your body prefers one piece of chicken this big once a week and that's it, and everything else is vegetables, you still have to avoid the sugar, though. You still have to avoid the horrible bread, the really bad bread. Yeah. So her diet is great. So it was keto before keto was popular, and I don't think she even mentions it in the book. So you have these really super nutritious fatty meats and then the fermented vegetables to repair the gut microbiome. So yeah, that's fantastic. And then if you're cycling in and out of ketosis, you can have some pasta coming out of ketosis. Now, don't tell anybody I said that. I avoid pasta like it's the devil. And then when I come out of ketosis, I prefer to have I don't know, more vegetables like a sweet potato or something like that. I don't know, but right now where I'm at, like I'll eat a bunch of meat, and then 24 hours later I have my next meal. Before that meal, I test my blood. I'm in ketosis. So when I have my meal, it's a big salad with lots of, like, I just had a pound of red meat, and then a head of iceberg lettuce, and I had other vegetables in it too, and that'll last me at least 18 hours, probably more like 20 or more. So, but now other people, and especially women, they could have the pasta, the higher carb food to come out of ketosis and to feed their hormones, like during the week of their period or something like that. Because here's the kicker. When you're doing the keto diet, carnivore diet, it lowers insulin, which is great, prevents diabetes, etc. But insulin helps the body convert hormones, like for example T3 to T4 from the thyroid, or hormones in your blood are not necessarily available to the organs. The liver has to convert those hormones to be used, right? I learned this from one of my mentors, Dr. Dan Pompa. So you can raise your insulin up, and now you're converting hormones. So women need that for their cycle, right? And then men can use it. But wait, and men can use it too. Like initially, when you're getting into ketosis, you feel maybe depressed or keto flu-y, sort of tired. You come out of ketosis with some high carb foods, your insulin goes up, and you come out of it. But you're not quite ready yet. Like I spent all morning, I spent 6 hours raking leaves today in my yard. I got 2.5 acres with no, fasted, 24-hour fasted. Awesome energy the whole time, right? But if you're new at ketosis, you might be dragging. Okay, so anyways, you just keep working with it. Give yourself a year or two. Go ahead. All the arguments about unnecessary killing of animals, etc. My counter to that is um, it's the food chain. Like that's the most natural thing is the food chain. So I don't know what else to say about that. But I made a playlist over the course of 2 years. I had so many vegans come after me, and they would post all these various topics, subjects, points of contention, and I would make a video about why what I'm saying is right, whatever. But the point is, I made a playlist, and I put that playlist is on my YouTube channel, so it counters every single argument any vegan could ever possibly say. And I haven't had any vegans challenge me on YouTube in like 6 months now, because I just post that playlist. Here, watch this. Yeah, it's called it's called it's called ketosis versus veganism. That's the name of the playlist. I want to throw in that the quality of products available now compared to 10 and 20 years ago, it's fantastic, and it's getting accelerating in the quality. So I have people that with my office, they want me to sell their product. So we're talking body care and we're talking other supplements. And 10 years ago, the body care, I was not impressed by any body care products, period, 10 years ago. But now there's good makeup for women, and there's underarm deodorant, etc. It's lotions and stuff like that, shampoos. So it's true too with supplements. And one of my favorite companies is Standard Process, and they were started in 1929, right? And so he actually laid the foundation. Yeah, he laid the foundation for all nutritional supplement companies, and you can see his influence even in pharmaceutical companies, the way that they operate to a certain degree. So he's kind of like the Led Zeppelin of rock, to rock and roll. He's like the Led Zeppelin of nutritional supplement companies or the nutrition field. He's like, here's how you do it. And and even now, Standard Process teaches the USDA how to have an organic farm. Like they are the ultimate organic farm, and they apply those principles to other, to their investigations, if you will, or inspections on organic farming. I read a biography on him a long time ago. I don't remember the name of it. No, but the things he discovered things that are still hidden today. Like he discovered a way to transport electricity through the air without any wires that caused no harm to human tissue. And he worked in his lab from 1890 to 1891 or two. He would enter his lab at 10 a.m. and leave at 4 a.m. 7 days a week for a year and a half. And this is in New York. So he was just on a roll. He was like some kind of a psychic, like a seer, if you will. So he's able to discover things because it was already there. He already had it in his brain. He had a machine he would set up in his brain, and it would run. And then the next day and the next week and months later, he would go back and check on that machine and look where it broke or where it would wear down and what was wrong with it. So that's how he operated. Like that's really cool. So that's, he worked for Thomas Edison, and And Thomas Edison was, the entrepreneur and took credit for all his discoveries. And just the fact that when he broke away from there, and then what? So he started digging ditches before he got any kind of funding for a lab. So he wasn't adverse to, doing that kind of work, and sticking to his principles. Like he's going to dig ditches for a while before he gets his own lab. So, yeah, he's one of my heroes. So you're the consumer, and I'm a fan of the free market. We already established that. And in order to have a true free market, you have to have an educated consumer. So you educate yourself on your blood tests and the state of your kidneys. And MDs are really good at discovering pathology and diagnosing. They got MRIs and blood tests and all that. So then you can look for alternative treatments depending on what your results are, and it's up to you what you want to do. And it's always best, well, not always, but you always want to consider the conservative, inexpensive route more, first. There's always the expensive radical, the surgery and the expensive drugs. That's always an option also. But depending on the severity of your condition and what you want to do, then you pick your path. So another factor would be other people in your life. If I have a family of 5 people and one has cancer, and of the other members of the family, all of them want them to do the ketogenic diet, for example, one person says no, it's usually that one person that dominates. You know how that goes. It's always the person that's angry or whatever. We can see that in our political arenas also. So, but I'm curious, like what blood test was off? Do you want to go there? Do you want to talk about that, or getting back to your kidneys? So there's a long, there's a millennia of herbs of education on herbs that flush out the kidneys. It's not a mystery that you could just Google or search online for. There's buco and solidago. These are herbs that flush out the kidneys, and you could also do carbamide, which is like helps the body make urine. But this is one thing that medicine is so pathetic at. Like I've had many people where it's called the glomerular filtration rate. It's how well the kidneys are, functioning. Where their numbers down to 50 or, yeah, it could be down to 30. And then I bring it back up with supplements and make sure their diet is good. Once you get down to 9, then you got to go on dialysis. Once somebody's on dialysis, I haven't had good results with that. But there are people on social media that have reversed their, kidney function back to normal and they got off dialysis. So there's always that possibility. But, there's no drug that fixes the kidneys, right? There's no drug that nourishes and the liver and brings function back to the liver or thyroid. These are, like you want to feed the body instead of drug it. It's really ridiculous. The word is ridiculous. It's a matter of taking in information and being able to find out for yourself if it's truthful. So, there's moments when you hear something and yeah, that's truthful because you already knew it from before. And like you said earlier, you just didn't have the words for it. But then other times you hear, and I've done this before, where you hear something and I hold on to it for a couple weeks or a couple months and I'm looking at other things and then I determine whether or not it's truthful and I can get rid of it. There's also the point of something can be truthful but not important. So when I do the videos, I'm trying to do things that are truthful and important. So when somebody says red wine is healthy, it's like, wait a minute. Even if that's true, it's not important because then you don't want people drinking 3 bottles of wine a day. It's not important, right? Right, because it's physical. Like so we have 14 acres of greenhouses, and my dad would tell me to sweep this greenhouse, and then a half hour later, it's got to be swept, right? If you don't do the job, and one of the guys told me, he goes, if you're not good at your job, then what are you good for? And I was a kid, he said that to me. I was like, okay, that I want to be good for something, right? So I would be good with my job, yeah. So you can lay the blame on the person, which it's a correct thing to do. Like there needs to be education. But you also have to lay the blame on the current, at least in the United States, on the current government regulations, and the fact that welfare pays for pop on the food program. That shouldn't be the case. And when you look at the candy bars and some of the other foods, the dietitians say, well, as long as it's low calorie, or look at, like a little bit is okay. And then some of those bad foods they actually match the food pyramid. So various granola bars and stuff like that, like super high carb, low fat, and every dietitian's all about that because it matches their license. They have to promote high carb, low fat. So people start eating that and they lose their energy, they lose their brain power, they start losing their health. So yeah, it's got to be corrected from the top down and from the bottom up. I got an office, I got a supplement company, we have one product, and then the Good Fat Bar. So with the office, it's the nhcaa.com. And so I have, there's 5 practitioners besides myself. We can do local, in office and phone consultations. And so, yeah, we're open 6 days a week. The other company is called Heritage Glandulars, and the website is heritageglandulars.com. So this is a product, it's a multi-glandular supplement. It's got 9 organs in it that are dried. So that, you take a adrenal gland and you dry it up, put it in the capsule. It's got all the hormones that come with it. So when you're taking this, it's like our ancestors would eat the glands of the animal they just hunted, and it gives you like really good energy. It's been really fantastic. It's the most powerful product I've worked with, to be honest. Well, my original idea was we're just trying to mimic our ancestors. So if somebody finishes 1 bottle a month 4 times a year, you're like one month on, 2 months off. And that would be a dosage of 4 per day to finish 1 month. That's 1 bottle. Now, and that's somebody like normal weight, like let's say 160 and higher. Now, if somebody's 120 pounds, they would only do 2 pills a day for a month. That's half a bottle. Close it, stick it in your kitchen. 2 months later, open it back up and finish that bottle. So that's only 2 bottles per year. And so somebody like our weight, for example, that'd be 4 bottles a year. Now, you can't do it every day for 6 months. Yeah, because your body will get dependent on, right, it'll get dependent on the hormones that come naturally with those organs. And our ancestors didn't have adrenal every single day. They didn't eat liver every single day. So you have some, then you stop, and you have some, then you stop. So that's the original intention with that, and it's actually been really quite good with the response, with people giving you some really good nutrients. It has all the minerals that come with it naturally. Okay, and then the components of the cells of those tissues. It's got 9 glands in it. And it's got RNA, which feeds the brain. So the whole idea is people just start to feel better. And that includes mentally, brain function. That includes organ function, strength, endurance. They just feel better. So it's kind of along the same vein as it's almost like a multi-mineral, multivitamin. It's a multi-glandular. It's a kind of like a whole new category of supplements. Yeah, I got a company that's making it, and they acquired the source. Most of the glands come from cows from Argentina, and this is an interesting point. I wanted to have brain in there, but you can't have American cows because of the mad cow scare from 15, 20 years ago. So I told the manufacturer we got to go with sheep. So they found a source in New Zealand. So New Zealand and Argentina have really good animal husbandry practices. And and if you can't, when supplement companies don't use cow brain, they go for pig. But then there's several religions that won't eat pork. That includes the Deep South Christians, Islam, Judaism. So this supplement is available to the 3 major Western religions. I did that on purpose because I just have so many patients that they're refusing pork. That includes the supplements that I have that have pork in it. So this is available for all. Yeah. I just moved into this new office like 4 months ago, so we're gearing up to do that kind of a public relations campaign, if you will, like external marketing. So I don't really have anything nailed down exactly. But for any doctor or practitioner interested in learning more, they can, let's see, they'd have to just go to our website at thenhcaa.com, and there's a link to info at thenhcaa.com. They can send a request like to sign up for an email newsletter list. But I also want to share with you that last company, the Good Fat Bar. The website, yeah, the website is goodfat.bar. We have 6 products. 3 of them are very ketogenic. It's a cacao butter base, and then we flavor that. And that's the challenge. Cacao butter doesn't taste the best. So we have a cinnamon flavor. We have, lemon, ginger, turmeric combination. Our first 3 products were sort of keto friendly, like but help you maintain ketosis and filled with good fat. And then our last 3 bars that we made are keto adaptive, meaning they're very, very ketogenic. So we have a dark chocolate peanut, and we just did a limited run of a pumpkin spice pumpkin pie. We only did like 3,000 of those. So we may bring that back next year. But the point is, the goodfat.bar, you can get these bars you carry around, and it's more convenient than carrying around a stick of butter or something like that. The most ketogenic nuts are macadamia nuts. Okay, they're like a 5-to-1 ratio of fat versus protein plus carbs, which is a way to determine how ketogenic a food is. I talk about that in my videos. But now, if somebody has a virus, a chronic virus, or even an acute virus, most nuts and seeds will feed the virus. So nuts aren't good for everybody. If you start eating nuts and your skin itches and you feel tired or weak or depressed, that means you have a virus in your body. You got to stop that. Now, the other thing about nuts is that a lot of times if they're roasted, they're oftentimes rancid at the store. So you want to get like raw nuts, and then you want to get them raw and then sprout them yourself or do some sort of process to them to make them edible. So, and you could just Google that to find out. But in general, like I'm avoiding nuts. And I kind of think that I think that they're another plant that can cause some harm. So it depends, there's people that absolutely love nuts and they feel so good on them. But in general, I'm not that much of a fan. So there's kind of my yes and no answer about nuts, and it's not really nailing it down. But the Superman poster? Well, there was a time in my life, uh, when I probably had a dozen people over the course of 2 years tell me I look like Christopher Reeve. And I used Christopher Reeve as my Facebook profile picture for a long time, and some people actually thought that it was me, but it was actually Christopher Reeve. So having said that, I was given that poster and a couple other, Superman posters or pictures, if you will. Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a good talk.